Today we're going to spend just a little bit of time and talk about how I would troubleshoot the connections that go to your 3D printer mainboard. Hello everyone, Chris here, and I do a lot of different things around the shop trying to make all these 3D printers work. Now every tip that I have doesn't always make it into a video. But today I thought I would go over with you how to troubleshoot a pin on your 3D printer mainboard. Try to check its status and just see what it does. Now, this video is going to be mainly around Marlin firmware. Most of you know I am an enthusiast. But I recently did a project that required Marlin, and I had to do a little bit of this troubleshooting, and it can be really handy, whether it be on a 3D printer, or you're trying to work one of these boards into another type of project. As well, if you don't know a lot about the board that you have on a certain 3D printer, you can flash Marlin to it and take these steps to debug it. It has come in really handy for me over the years, and I thought it would be a good video to share with you before we jump into some other things. So consider this kind of a prerequisite video. So let's just jump in. I'll show you the features that I'm talking about and how they work on a couple of different mainboard types. So 3D printer mainboard types have changed a lot over the last couple of years. It used to be really common to see something like this. This is a ramp shield on an Arduino Mega. And say what you want about ramps, they had lots of extra pins that you could use for different types of devices. Whether it be servos, or you needed to use something that required analog pins. Now features for 3D printers like controllable fans, that kind of stuff, it wasn't very rich in that, but you can kind of see where they were going trying to use the attributes of that Arduino and all the pins that it had available. Then you started to see boards like this. This is an MKS Gen 1.4. It does use the same 2560 that the Mega would, but it's an all-in-one type of mainboard. You have a lot of the same pins. You get your AUX1, AUX2, servo, just like on ramps down here. But you don't have to deal with that sandwich, and it's just a little bit better laid out. There's really not that much advantage to one of these boards versus ramps. Some of them have higher quality components, of course, but you're still pretty much doing the same thing. Remember, we're still talking about the 8-bit days here. And then if you jump ahead a couple of years, we start to see a lot of these 32-bit controllers. I just recently pulled this one off of one of my printers. This is an SKR 1.3. Of course, different type of processor, different type of layout, but just taking a look at a lot of the pins, we've lost quite a few when we've come from something like ramps up to a mainboard like this. It's very rare to see any analog pins. A lot of these didn't have multiple servos. They did have one if you wanted to use a BL Touch. But you started to see them go more and more tailored just for specific 3D printers. It was a much better board, I would say, but not as versatile as something like ramps would be, depending on what you wanted to do with it. Then we started to see these boards get stripped down. This is a mini board, basically the same type of SKR board. Again, a different chip, but trying to tailor these pins towards a specific 3D printer to save as much real estate as possible and keep the form factor. These were intended to use on Creality style printers. Again, not a lot of different pin options, but from the 1.3 to something like this, they have tried to add a few. But again, we don't see any type of analog pin, and these are specifically driven towards a 3D printer type. And when I say that, I'm mostly focused on things like TFT screens, filament detect, power loss recovery pins, things like that. And then they just continue to evolve. This is an SKR2. We now have an SKR3. And then you start to see things like these monster boards come out. This is the Big Tree Tech Octopus. You can tell it supports all kinds of different drivers, it separates the power for the drivers, it does all kinds of different things here. But still, we never really saw the return of those auxiliary pins like you always saw on ramps. And sometimes you see information for these boards be pretty lackluster. They don't always tell you exactly what some of these pins do and what they're capable of. And that's when I started thinking about making this video. I have in the past had to get in and troubleshoot some pins to make this mainboard do what I wanted it to do, or even check to see if the mainboard I was using was capable of getting that job done. And Marlin firmware does have a set of features that makes this pretty straightforward, but I don't think a lot of people know that it's there. So let's jump over to Marlin, I'll show you what the feature looks like, and then we'll just test it out. So in Marlin, there's a lot of different things you can do to debug your 3D printer issues. But today we're mainly focused on checking on pin status and how you figure out things like that. It's all baked right in. So if you head into configuration_adv.h, we can just do a find, and the easiest way is to just search M43. M43 and M42 are the commands that you can use to do this pin debugging. So to enable that, all you have to do is take the comments off of these lines. So define direct pin control, we'll use that, and then right below it, define pins debugging. And those are the only two features that we'll need for today. And let's head over to configuration.h. This first example that I'm going to show you, we're just going to use a standard ramps board. So I'll flash this to the board, and then we'll open up Pronterface so that you can see how to use these commands. Here we are in the Pronterface terminal. After we flashed, our pin debugging is now available. The first thing I would suggest that you do is just run an M43 command. This is going to list every MCU pin, all the pins you have available on this board. Now, not every pin is going to be used. The descriptions might be just a little bit hard to decipher, but at least it's going to give you a status of what that pin is, its number, and what it might be capable of. Now, one of the reasons why I wanted to use ramps to show you some of this is because it's going to have a few things that you don't see on a lot of the newer main boards. So let's just take, for example, pin number 5 right here. I currently have it assigned to a joystick. Now, the joystick that I'm using is analog. So I would need an analog pin to be able to use it correctly. If you scroll down to the bottom of this display, remember we have pin 5, you can see that ramps has a lot of analog pins listed. Analog pin 5 right here, you can see it's listed as A5. It's also digital pin 59, so you can use it as either. And if you want to take a look at this on the ramps pinout, you can see right here on AUX2 A5 D59, that is your analog pin. And even today, depending on the project you're doing, analog pins can be pretty useful. But that's just a little background of what you're looking at here. Also note there are protected pins. Pins that you can't necessarily do anything with based on these controls. That's in order to keep you from doing something you might not want to do to one of these pins. Now you can override that, but be very careful. So let's set up a bit of a test here. I've got this 5-volt fan. We're just going to plug it into the pins that we're going to be using so that I can show you an example. So any ground pin will do for the ground side of the fan. And then for the positive side, I'm going to plug it in to the pin that we're working with. Analog pin 5, or as we're going to use it in this case, digital pin 59. It'll work either way. Not all pins are equal. So your first option here to start troubleshooting would be to use M42. That will allow you to set the pin state. Now with this pin, it can be digital or analog. With M42, you can set PWM, so that allows you to ramp it up and down. You can also set what the pin is, such as input, output. You can set up a pull-up or pull-down resistor. And if you need to set a pin in a specific way, there is some documentation out here that will help you decide which way you want to set it. But for this example, we can just kick it on. Since it is PWM, we'll just turn it on full blast. So we'll do an M42. We'll do a P for pin. We'll just call it 59. It should know whether it's pin 5, 59, it's the same pin. And then we'll do S. And if it's a digital pin, you can either do 0 or 1 for on and off. But since this is PWM, we're going to do 255 for full blast. And you can see the fan kicked on. And if we want to just set it back down to 0, S0, the fan goes off. Now remember, a lot of these pins are protected. You don't want to just go around testing all these pins. you can take that protection off. If you needed to do that to test it with an M42, you could just add an I1. That will ignore that protection, but be very careful. Now you also have another option. It's called M43T for toggle. This allows you to toggle a set of pins on and off so that you can test them. For example, if you don't know exactly what a pin number is, you want to run through a handful of them, M43T will test all of those pins in succession, turning them on and off at whatever rate you choose. So for our example, we're going to do M43T. We're just going to test one pin, but our starting pin is 59. Our last pin is 59. Make sure you set these correctly or it's going to run through the whole range from 0 to the last pin. And we're going to repeat that toggle 5 times, and we're going to wait 1 second in between all of those toggles. This can be really handy if you don't know exactly what's going on with the board. You have to test multiples. So we'll run this. You can see it's turning the fan on, turning the fan off. It's pulsing that pin to give you some time to be able to troubleshoot it. And when it's complete, it will report done. And again, make sure you check out all the documentation. There are several things you can do with M42 and 43. There's even special cycles for things like servos. If you're trying to test out your BL Touch, these can be really handy. And they do give some examples. There's even a watch end stop feature. Instead of trying to do the M119 to check on your end stops over and over, you can set them to watch so you can see if they're closing and opening properly. Same way with your M43T when you want to toggle pins. Same options you have in M42 you can ignore. You can set different times, whatever you'd like to do. It's all right here. Now at this point, probably a lot of you are thinking, when would I ever need to use this? And this video is not for everyone. This is just intended to be reference if you were to ever have to try to troubleshoot a mainboard and the pin status. But if you have ever had to do that, if you've had a mainboard you don't know much about, you just have to go with the pins and try to figure out what each one of them do, maybe with your multimeter, this can be a lifesaver. I've had to do this multiple times over the years, and it has been very useful. So again, this is just for the more advanced types of projects. But it's also important to note what type of pins each mainboard has, and this process can help you out with that too. So we got a ramps board here, that's all fine and good. We can find out information about that. But what about something like our mini board here? What does its pin set look like? So this is an SKR Mini E3 1.2 board. I'm just going to change enough in my configuration to get Marlin up and running over there with our pin debug feature. So I just have to change the board name. I will have to update the drivers because it does have integrated 2209s, but just a handful of things to be able to flash. After a couple of updates, our flash was successful. Now let's head to Pronterface and take a look around, just like we did with ramps. So we'll jump back into Pronterface and we'll just run that M43 again. You can see here the pin set is much different. There's not as many available. There's a lot of unused pins that aren't even labeled in this configuration. But you do see a few here that could be used as an analog pin. This is where you would go to the feature set inside Marlin, configure this pin, and then that feature would label this pin correctly so you could use it for whatever your project might be. And what about something like this octopus board with all these different pins on it? What does that pin set look like? And we'll just do the same thing here with the octopus board, M43. You can see the list is a whole lot longer. Now there's still a lot of unused pins, and you can utilize those in the firmware, again, for whatever you want. But you do have to make that configuration happen. In Marlin, there's a lot of different features that you can use these unused pins. You just have to turn them on. And then it should label it correctly. But again, this is just an example of the different kinds of boards and how you can troubleshoot them if you need to. So those are the steps that I would take with Marlin firmware to try to troubleshoot a 3D printer mainboard and a pin. Just to give you an idea of what that pin's doing, or you can also change its state. Maybe you need a pull-up resistor. If that pin supports it, you can use that M42 to set it, and then M43 to try to get some stats on it. Now, there's other firmwares out there, like Clipper and RepRap, They have their own way of doing this kind of thing, but in my experience, just getting Marlin on to even troubleshoot is a little bit easier because you have these functions. Most folks are never going to need to do this. We do have a project coming up. You might have seen the Candy Claw machine at ERF 2022. We are going to do a build series on that. And when you do something that isn't 3D printer related, these kind of tools can be really useful. So hopefully you found this interesting, maybe a little bit helpful. That is it for today, and I'll see you really soon on the next one.